This video is best viewed in full screen mode, and on YouTube that's this icon right here. And if you have a high bandwidth connection, you also want to watch it in HD, which is this icon right here. In this video we're going to go over the Payments tab. The Payments tab has a lot going on in here because this is where a lot of the accounting takes place. But if we take it on one piece at a time, I don't think it'll be too painful for you to understand. The first thing we're going to talk about here is these three columns here. And these three columns are only used if you have your judgment debtor on a payment plan. If they're not on a payment plan, you can just go over here and click that, and those three columns go away, and you don't even have to worry about them. But we're going to talk about the situation where you do have your judgment debtor on a payment plan. And in this scenario, we have the judgment debtor paying $200 a month on the 15th of each month. And if you notice, we got this filled out a couple months in advance. The date today is 10/11/2009. So if I wanted to, I'd go ahead and put in here the future payments that we're going to have him make. So you can fill this out for months in advance if you want, but a lot of times judgment debtors don't follow through in their payment plan. So basically just want to keep this going a few months ahead of time. Save you some effort of filling out all of the payments that you expect them to make if they don't even bother. Okay, now this column here is when we sent the bill out. We sent a bill out on 8/1 for them to pay on 8/15. Sent a bill out on 9/1 for them to pay on 9/15. And if they're on a payment plan, what you want to do is you check this off here because they are on a payment plan. And then when you do that, you select over here what you want your bill reminder to be. You can turn it off if you want. You can make it 28 days before. In this circumstance, we have it set up as 15 days before. And what that means is that the system expects you to put in to send them a bill, in this circumstance on 11/1/09, because that would be 15 days before the due date. And if you haven't sent them out a bill by that time and haven't entered this date into here, what will happen is the system will give you a warning. And just to show you what that would look like, I'm going to go ahead and erase that there. And here we go. That's what the warning looks like. It's basically showing you that, hey, you had a due date of 10/15 and you haven't sent out a bill yet, so you're way behind. So I'm going to add that back in the way it was. I just wanted to show you how the error would look. I'm going to save these changes that we made. And the other way you get to that is you could query the database, and you could say query for need to bill JD, and that'll show you all the records out there where you haven't sent out a bill when you should have. Okay, and that brings us to these green columns here. And this is all about when the judgment debtor has paid you. We got paid on 9/2, $200, and they pay us with check number 441. Or you could put in the money order number there, whatever would be the appropriate reference number. Here we got paid on 9/15, $200, and there's the reference number. Also, there's another warning that comes up if you have billed the judgment debtor and they haven't paid you. For example, this was due on 9/15. You got this warning that comes up, and it says that the judgment debtor's payment is past due. I'm going to go ahead and save that, and you can go over here and query for judgment debtor payment is past due, and that'll give you this warning. Okay, and something else I want to talk about is the scenario where your judgment debtor has just decided to stop making payments to you. And as long as there's a payment past due, you're going to get this warning, and then when you query for payments that are past due, this record is always going to show up. And if you're in a situation where you no longer want to get those warnings on this particular record, then what you do is you just say uncheck that they're on a payment plan because they're not paying you anymore. Go ahead and save it. And if you notice when we come back to this record, you no longer get that warning. If they're not on a payment plan, you're not going to get the warning about the payment being past due, and you're no longer going to get the warning in regards to the bill reminder. So that's just something you want to be aware of. Okay, so we're going to set this back up how we had it, and we're going to say that this judgment debtor paid us on 9/15 $200. Now we're going to save that. All right, and that brings us to these three columns here, which are payments to the original judgment creditor. In this example, we paid on 9/29, we sent $100 to the original judgment creditor with check number 1500. On 10/1, we sent him $100, check number 1551. And if you notice these totals here, this is the total payments by the judgment debtor, which is the total of this column. The total amount to the original judgment creditor, which is this column here. And this here is the remaining. And that brings us over here to this area. And what we want to talk about here is the fact that this program has been designed in such a way to make it as flexible as possible. It's not trying to be a one-size-fits-all situation. This here we are showing here, we call it simple accounting. There's also some people may be highly regulated and they may be running everything through an escrow account. And if you're running an escrow account, you'd set up, pick this option, and you get a bunch of extra columns that would be appropriate for that. And what I'm going to do now is I want to take you to a record that has been set up to do an escrow style account. So now we have a bunch more columns, and it's set up in a slightly different way. So when you're running an escrow account, basically what happens is every check that you get in from the judgment debtor would go into your escrow account, or your some people might call it a holding account. And then all funds are dispersed from that account. So in this scenario, you've received $400 from your judgment debtor, and that amount went into the escrow account. And then you paid your original judgment creditor. You sent him 2 payments of $75 to make the $150 here. And then you also wrote yourself a check for your cut from the escrow account to your business account in this situation. And so here you go are your date and amounts of the payments that you actually wrote to your check to yourself from your escrow account to, say, your business checking account. And then over here are some columns that are about your expenses. You also wrote yourself a check from the escrow account to yourself for expenses. And these are the dates and amounts. And so up here your totals are a little bit different. You have the total received into the escrow account, which are basically JD payments, how much you sent to the original judgment creditor, how much you sent to yourself, and then how much you also, if you broke it down separately, how much you sent to yourself for expenses. In this case it was $100, and that's because there's been $100 worth of expenses on this record so far. And one other thing I wanted to mention is this remaining. In the scenario of a escrow account type of accounting, this remaining basically means how much money is remaining to be dispersed. In this case, so basically this amount here is going to be this minus this minus this minus this. In this case it's 400, and these two add up, three add up to be a total of 400, so your remaining is 0. But anyhow, I just want to mention that the remaining in this particular scenario is what's remaining to be dispersed from the escrow account. Click on the link to move to the next part of the video series.